Hello, we have a 5K subscriber giveaway. This is the DF64 made by Turin. Espresso Outlet gave it to us, and they're gonna let us give it to you once we hit 5K subs. So click on the link in the description, subscribe to the channel, and get some bonus points if you also subscribe to my Instagram channel. So, win the grinder. Aww. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Joe, where I help you make better coffee and give you honest reviews. Today we are reviewing the Rocket Appartamento. This is a super popular home espresso machine for people that really want to go the extra mile to have something very beautiful in their house. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. As always, I'm going to do pros, cons, and then I'll do a little conclusion after making a shot of espresso, showing you the workflow. So let's first get into pros. This machine is stunning. It's got the very signature Appartamento circles on the side that you can get customized in different colors. You could even get the side panels in different colors, black. I think they even make it in red now. But it's really nice because you can get it set up in really any sort of environment. It looks pretty good. We have the copper sides to kind of go with the backsplash here. So it looks very, very nice, I think. And the build quality is just really out of this world. Everything is not only made of nice chrome stainless steel parts, but it's actually like very nicely finished off parts. There's no sharp edges or anything like that. Everything's, you know, welded nicely. There's a lot of nice little finishes. One of the small finishes that I really like a lot is the drip tray. Actually, when you pull this off, it doesn't have any like weird little things you have to get in to get it to slide in properly. It's all magnetic. So I don't know why, but it's just one of those like small little things that feels really nice to take on and off, and I don't know, I like it. It's my favorite things. Next thing up, I think, is the boiler size. It's a nice big boiler, 1.8 liters. It is a heat exchanger boiler, so it's not like you have one for the steam and another one for the brew boiler. So it's not quite as temperature stable, but it is pretty good. We did a temperature test, and it was only really about 2 to 5 degrees difference from shot to shot. I will say, if you do let it sit for a long time on, you might get a little bit of steam coming off the top. So do a nice flush before you go ahead and pull your next shot of espresso if it's been sitting on for a while. But other than that, I mean, it's actually more temperature stable than I was, I guess, expecting. I've heard a lot of people say heat exchangers aren't, they tend to overheat, but I haven't had too much of an issue on this one. Maybe it'd be nice if I had a PID on here so that I could lower it, but we'll go with that in the cons, so don't worry about it. Next up, the water tank is 2.4 liters. I think you might be able to eke out a couple, like maybe 2.2 liters or so more, just because the max fill line seems like it's a little lower than it needs to be, but that's up to you to make that conclusion on your own, because I'm not going to tell you to do something the manufacturer doesn't want you to do, but maybe do it. Anyways, so the next thing too is, speaking of the water tank, is the water tank sort of sensor. It tells you when it's out of water. The green light will start to blink, and that means you have to start filling it back up with water. So it's kind of nice that it doesn't just start, you know, overheating and getting a lot of pressure built up in the boiler and, you know, kind of ruining the inside of your parts. So you can easily know quickly that you need to replace the water in the water tank. Next up, we have the wands here. I actually really like these. Like a lot of the higher end E61 machines, you are going to get a dual walled, like no burn steam wand on both sides. You can hold it here. I will say on this, it's shooting out really hot steamy water, so you can't really keep your hand right there unless you're at like a super sharp angle. But even then, I would probably keep your hand a little bit further away from that. With the steam wand though, it's really easy to move around, and you even have these little like black things to move it around if you're nervous, if you've been using a lot, doing a lot of steaming. So it is pretty nice. And I will say the steam pressure is pretty good. It's really quick. I was able to steam milk to about 140 degrees in about 20-25 seconds. So it's a little bit faster than your average. Depends on how much milk you're using, obviously, but this is actually a really nice steam wand. So on the cons, first up is this little cup frame is how they call it. You can call it a cup border, a cup tray, whatever you want to call it. I don't care, but it is plastic and really cheap. I thought that for the money, this is a, you know, over $1,700 espresso machine. You might be able to find it a little bit cheaper, but generally it's somewhere between $1,700 to like $1,900. You would expect something a little bit nicer than what they put on here. This is like really flimsy plastic, and no fault of the espresso outlet, but the first one that they shipped out did have a broken one. I'm assuming that came from the factory. It was an unopened box, but that's how cheap it is. Like, there was no damage on the box, but that was broke. So they had to ship out another one. A metal one would be a lot nicer. I don't know why they don't just ship out a metal one, or I don't know, maybe a little denser plastic. It just doesn't look or feel nice. The other thing, like I was saying earlier, is it is a heat exchanger, so, and it's not PID controlled. So, you know, you don't have the ability to change the temperature. So like if you're making, you know, super light roast coffee, you might want to drop down the temperature to 192, 193 degrees, something like that, in like the actual boiler. Whereas, you know, it's normally sitting at 200, maybe 205. So it tends to get a little hotter, and you can't really make it go down manually. And speaking of no PID, normally with a PID, you'd be able to control it somewhere up here or like on the side or something. And when you have a, you know, some type of display, you have a timer. This doesn't have a timer. So you have to, unfortunately, you know, start your shot and you have to time it every single time. So that's kind of annoying. And there's no like volumetric controls either. So it is, if you're trying to dial in espresso, it's not as fun as using something with a timer. Using a timer just makes everything a lot quicker, a lot cleaner. You don't have to like sit there with your phone and try to time everything together. It's just nicer. So that's one big downside with this, but I'm being a little nitpicky. So, you know, it is what it is. It's a really nice espresso machine. Last kind of piece that I noticed that I didn't like about this, and it's not a huge deal if you're drinking mostly espresso, but if you are doing you know, lattes or iced coffees or iced espresso, whatever you want to call it, the portafilter they give you is either a dual or a single. They don't give you a bottomless. So the distance here is pretty small. You only have about 3¼ inches of distance from the drip tray to the portafilter spouts. So keep that in mind if you do a lot of, you know, Americanos or something like this. These are bigger cups because they're dual wall, but they're definitely not fitting with that. Now, if you have a bottomless, which we use, you don't have any issues at all, but, you know, it is kind of a bummer. You have a little small amount of space there. So speaking of having small space, I wish, because they had only the two portafilters that come with it, they have the 2-spout and the single spout. I don't know why they don't just send the bottomless. Nobody, at least for the United States. I can understand like Europe, a lot of people like the single spout, but in the United States, most people either want the double or that they want the bottomless. And because of like the third wave coffee and all that stuff, most people want a bottomless portafilter now. Not to mention it fixes the short distance. So that's one thing. And then the last, but you know, not the least of things, is that this has a 12 bar factory setting at the, you know, at the pump pressure. So if you want it to go down to 9 bars instead of, or 10 bars, whatever you want it at, you do have to open up the machine and change it. I do wish most companies would set it at like 9 or 10 bars, but they don't for whatever reason, so it is what it is. I know with darker roast, 12 bars is fine, but a lot of people are doing medium roasts, and some people are even doing light roast. So it is kind of a hassle to have to open up the machine and change the factory settings right when you get it. So that concludes the cons. Let me make a shot of espresso. All right, we have the Equator Coffee Decaf Espresso right here. It's a little bit darker, but not like super dark, not like oily or anything like that. I just ground it 16 grams, so we are gonna do a quick little tamp. and we'll pop it in. I am at my parents' house, unfortunately, so we don't have all the stuff that I normally have, like a scale and all that stuff to show you what I'm getting, but I will do my best to get it close to a 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5 ratio. So let's see how we're going to do here. Now, as always, because we don't have that timer like I was talking about earlier, I'm going to try to start this and this at the same time. So let's take a look. All right. Oh, it's coming out pretty good. Now you can kind of tell that it's a 12 bar because the cone here is a little bit bigger than you would expect out of a 9 bar machine. So we're at 28 seconds. This is a nice head of crema right there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that looks like probably about 2 ounces right there. So let me go ahead and give it a nice swirl. Some people hate the swirl. Don't judge me. I don't have a spoon. All right, let's see how we got. Nice. Very smooth. Got that nice crema. Makes a nice mouth feel. I actually really like the Eye of the Tiger for decaf. It's a really traditional kind of espresso blend. So it feels right when you're in the mood for that, you know, old school Italian espresso kind of feel, you know? Anyways, so that's making a shot of espresso on there. It's a pretty nice experience. I use the bottomless just because I like to see my extraction and everything. If, you know, you don't want to make as much of a mess, you would use the other one. But for me, I like to use the bottomless. And this one's actually from my Lilith Bianca, so that's nice that I have that one sitting around. Anyways, for the conclusion, this machine is a lot of looks and a lot of functionality. There's some things missing, and I think you can go to other machines if you don't care as much about the looks and the size. You know, if you need something that's a little bit smaller and you're willing to, you know, mitigate some of that stuff, you can get a machine with a timer and a PID for around the same price. But if you're someone who wants all of the looks and the build quality of Rocket and this espresso machine, then this is the way you're going to have to go, because this is like one of the only machines that has the signature circles. It is the only machine that you can get that on, and it really is one of the best design machines out there, I think, in terms of looks. So if you're looking for it, go ahead and go to theespressooutlet.net, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Don't forget to also enter our giveaway. And for the final score of this espresso machine, I'm going to give it an 8.8 because it knocks out the park on a lot of different areas, but it does lack some of the core features that I prefer in a lot of my espresso machines, like a timer and a PID. So I hope you liked the video. Definitely, if you haven't already liked it and subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that now, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks.